Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode for the Recipe to Success podcast. We've been away for a while, but we wanted to do a bit of rebranding and record some epic podcasts for you. So we've been rounding up the guests, and today is the start of the first guest. I am chatting to a gentleman called Leigh, and we were put in touch by a friend and somebody who's been on the podcast as well. And he said to me, Danny, you need to talk to this guy. He's a pretty interesting chap, and he's also a serial entrepreneur. And he is working in the payment processing space, and he has founded a company called Total Processing, who's just moved to the UAE and sealed up some solid partnerships, and they're making waves in the industry. And what I loved is when we first spoke, he is such a humble guy. If you go to his LinkedIn page, it doesn't say anything about co-founder, nothing. It's sales director. So he likes to do his business, lay under the radar, and that's what we love because these are the guys that really do things, and to be humble about it when they're so successful. I just can't wait to share his story. So let's get into it. Next episode for a Recipe to Success podcast with Leigh. Good morning.
Good morning, Danny.
How are you?
I'm good. A little nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Well, don't worry. It's like I said to you before. It's just two people chatting, but it's your first podcast, so I'm going to take the credit for this when you become a global superstar. But yeah, how's time in the UAE so far?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been an experience, to say the least. It's been quite challenging, obviously, with the COVID. Obviously, I'm actually due to get married, so my fiancée is still back in the UK. So, obviously, not having kind of your family and friends, I suppose, out here has been a bit of a challenge, but in its own right. But yeah, I can't complain one bit. We've really enjoyed it since I've been here, to say the least. Okay,
so tell us a bit more about. I know you've obviously got few businesses.
Yep.
So just give us a high level, elevator pitch on each of those businesses and the main one which we want to talk about today, which is obviously Total Processing.
Yeah, so obviously Total Processing's a payments platform. We're essentially, through kind of one integration, you get the full payments ecosystem covered. So whether that be kind of alternative payment methods that you require, and they're say like Alipay, WeChat Pay, Apple Pay, they're classed as an alternative payment method. Obviously, if you want to just acquire payments with Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Diners, JCB, etc. And then also other elements of the payment space like recurring payments, subscription payments. And we do pretty cool stuff with like QR codes, obviously pay by links. And it's a tool that can be used by all businesses to really help them expand globally and locally as well.
Okay, now this online world is still a bit of a question mark for a lot of people, and they don't really understand it that much. But when you explain it like that, I'm thinking, right, this guy's got degrees coming out of his ears. He's like a banker by background, like he's in that financial world. But from what I understand, that wasn't your kind of education, though.
No, not at all. Probably the opposite. So how the company and kind of how we got to this point, should I say, is when we were setting up, I've always wanted to set different companies up. We've always give that a go. A lot of them have failed, some of them have done okay. And we always used to have the same recurring issue, which was what we wanted to achieve was always quite difficult with the kind of legacy banks that we worked with at the time, such as your likes of WorldPay. I mean, they're great companies, but all they can kind of do is acquire a payment. As times change, you need to be offering a lot more to your customers. People like to pay in different ways. And we found trying to get that overall solution, we needed to go to several companies to get that. So say we wanted to do something in the recurring space, we would need to go to company X. If we wanted to do the acquiring of the payment, we'd go to company B, and it was quite long-winded. It was then become very costly because everyone wanted, obviously, a payment as such. So,
Or like some sort of like commission on that
so
transaction.
How it typically works is you pay per transaction. But then say you want a CRM, for example, you'd then have to pay that company to basically do the setup fees. You'd have setup fees in there, you'd pay per transaction. You'd have different fees that all incorporated into that. Then you've got your payment fees from the actual acquiring bank. So it very quickly mounts up to quite a significant part of your overall revenue. So that was kind of the pain point we had. So it kind of led us to kind of just develop our own platform for ourselves, just to remove all them pain points that we were kind of getting on there.
Okay, yeah. So you're like a consumer that was like, right, I've had enough of X, Y, and Z, so what I'm going to do is produce a solution that suits me, and hopefully that's going to work for everyone else.
Yeah, it was exactly that. Literally, as you put it there, we were just like, this is what we need. Can we build it? And we've got a very talented kind of CTO who obviously then understood what was needed to be done to achieve that goal. And yeah, we just worked on it for probably about a year until it was kind of done. And then rolled it out to ourselves and all the kind of companies we were trying to set up at the time. So it's quite it's quite strange how it all came about. And then we realised probably about 3 years ago, we had a product that really did help merchants grow, would assist them in trying to be successful. And listen, any product that helps someone be successful is should be a great product, really. And that's why we then decided to kind of really push it out to other merchants, other people trying to set companies up, and actively then started to hire staff and obviously build the business out.
But how do you? I mean, like I say, you don't come from like a finance background, so. I know one of your other businesses is obviously in the car finance kind of space.
Correct, yeah.
So you have a little bit of experience there, but you know, obviously processing payments online is like a completely different kettle of fish. It's not like just starting on like a kind of a Shopify website where you put up products that you've got a template to work from. Like you actually have to create a full kind of processing like element to this. So talk us through the process of how you actually, from not knowing anything of how to do that, to like getting to like off your feet and getting like the foundations prepared.
I suppose obviously a lot of experience was learned through the companies we were trying to develop that were in a payment space. So you start to understand the significance of it. Like if payments are declining on a recurring basis, why do they decline? Like how can we improve that? And like I say, you just build that knowledge up of the payments kind of ecosystem. And it did start off as just, like I say, a gateway in the recurring space. And then we started to learn more and more about the industry. Obviously, you've got great people out there that release really good content. So you can obviously understand more and more about the payment space. And because we were on the kind of always on the merchant side as well, we always understood what we needed to be kind of bringing out to ensure that we were up to speed. So that's kind of consistent knowledge building as such, because it's forever changing. It's such a fast-paced industry. It's never going to stand still. I mean, look at the likes of kind of crypto now.
Yeah.
All these things, open banking, like all these are going to be.
That's so funny. Like the cryptocurrency was literally on my brain, and you were like, start talking about crypto. I was like, wow. But yeah, it's I was going to say, because like for instance, like as an example, because again, I'm still trying to understand this space as well. So if I buy cryptocurrencies, you obviously have to make that transaction between your bank and the platform you're buying crypto from.
Correct.
You would be involved in that as well?
Yeah, so essentially we have a couple of crypto exchanges on as well on our books. So exactly what you just said then, you still need to load and buy that crypto. So what the payment gateway does on our platform is facilitate that transaction from your kind of issuing bank, which may be over here NBD, or if you're in the UK, like Barclays, for example. It needs to facilitate that into the crypto exchange to allow you to buy that kind of Ethereum or Bitcoin, whichever is your crypto of choice. So yeah, that's always kind of going to be required at the moment. Will it change in the future? There's probably a chance of that. I mean, open banking in the UK and Europe is really taking big steps forward. People are beginning to trust it, which they didn't used to do.
Yeah, because there's always that question mark, isn't there? Like, there's so many scams online, you know, and again, I suppose that starts from like, you know, your Instagram ads and stuff like that. Anyone can put an Instagram ad up, put up a payment for something. And I mean, I did one recently for an ad, and luckily it was a good service, but I was very skeptical, so I'd never heard of them before. It was like an online fashion brand, and it had some amazing shoes on there, and I bought, but part of me was like, okay, this looks too good to be true, because they're always like 80% off their products. And I bought it anyway, and it did come in the end, but there's always such a question mark about online payments.
Yeah, see, I'm a big fan of kind of trying to support them kind of firms. I mean, you need to do your due diligence, like if that's ringing a customer service number to make sure it's kind of there, checking if there's any reviews. Because obviously we had that kind of issue when we first started off. Obviously, payments platform, you've got these bigger companies that are trusting your payments. It's a major element of their operation. So the trust element was probably the biggest obstacle to start off with, because we knew we had the product. But you then go into these companies that, when we're starting off, probably speaking to companies that are turning over 30 to 50 million a year, and you're like, well, can we trust you with all this kind of these funds and these transactions? And that was, again, for us, one of the biggest hurdles. And it's only recently, I'd say, within the last year, that's kind of been removed now, because obviously our brands, especially in Europe, has really taken a prominent focal point for people. People understand us and what we offer, and they're interested in that. And also, I think mentality's changed of a lot of people out there now. Like, it's like clothes. Everyone used to want to have all the designer clothes, whereas now people want to just buy what they like. If that's from a brand they've never heard of, they'll do that. And I think that's how the world's going a little bit. Like, people now don't just want the biggest name because they feel they're going to get the best service. Because so in Europe, obviously, we've now got great growth, and the brand, like I say, is the brand awareness is there. And I think, like they say, the consumer behaviour is changing. I think they're quite open now to look at not just the biggest solutions. Brands. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They want the best quality now, and that's helping us definitely. I think it's a great mindset shift, because it pushes innovation. It doesn't just kill these smaller companies. Yeah. And it's good to see.
Yeah, and do you know what as well? One thing I loved about our conversation, which I really picked up on as well, is when I was talking about your success and stuff like that, and you were like, basically, success is nothing if I can't serve my customers. Yeah. And providing the best solution is, and you know, and this is where the big boys really kind of fall flat on their face, because they get so big that they, you know, the individual Daniel Leigh that's buying £100 trainers online, they don't really care, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, for us, our aim is to have the best payment platform there is, and maybe to delve a bit more into that, is to have the best payment platform in sense of giving merchants the greatest chance of survival and also growth.
Yeah, not ripping them off, charging them from their profits.
And we want to be that platform that listens to them as well, and we'll say, okay, this is what we can do for you. Because, like I say, we can help them grow, it grows us in turn. And so it's a win-win situation.
So how many clients would you say you have because one thing you said is you want to obviously listen to what they say and make sure that they've got a voice and stuff, but if you've got X amount of clients, it's going to take you a long time to speak to all of them if you just don't have the resources. So yeah,
I wouldn't. When I say that, I mean, obviously we listen to in the whole of what people want and need, and obviously dynamics of how the industries are changing, how checkout flows change, how to optimize conversions on pages. So that's naturally what a lot of clients and customers want. Yeah. So we have about 3,500-4,000 clients at the moment. Wow. And that's been built obviously over the last, I'd say 2.5-3 years. So that's obviously growing rapidly now. Yeah. Got a lot of great ideas that are going to come to fruition soon that should again increase that, and it's going quite well.
I mean, I don't even work for you, but I'm getting excited.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, no, I mean, like in terms of the actual, so like, how do you, like, what makes you different? Like, how do you make sure you're different to the others?
So again, it's understanding clients. So through that one integration, we do offer the whole host of products, like I just said then. So they can literally form the full payment cycle, no matter what it is. If they want to take recurring payments, if they just want to take one-off payments, or if they even want to just take payments in crypto, for example. So we have like 193 alternative payment methods on our platform. We're not just connected to like one bank. So like obviously Stripe, great company, but Stripe is Stripe. That's it.
Yeah.
We have about 300 banks globally also plug into our platform.
Okay, so if a bank doesn't recognise you, it just won't. Like, for instance, let's say ASOS as an example. I want to buy something off ASOS, but my bank doesn't recognise you. Can that payment still go through?
Yeah, your issuing bank, so whoever that may be, say, I'm going to use Barclays again.
Yeah.
It will still go through. You do have higher like approval rates
if the bank recognises you.
I wouldn't say if the bank recognise you, but if it's done in a particular way, the transaction, it gets pretty intricate how it goes.
Yeah.
That happens. But what does help is if you're servicing clients in kind of say Australia, you won't be showing kind of checkout methods like Poly on the checkout flow. So what our gateway and platform will understand is from all the details that customer is in Australia. So it'll show different payment options to say someone in Germany where it needs to show Sofort, which has just been acquired by Klarna quite recently. So it really, to maximise the checkout for a merchant, you need to be showing the correct payment methods to ensure that you're offering their customer base the options to pay how they want to pay.
Yeah.
And it also means by doing what we do, when we get global clients, we can service them in kind of every region, and we can also do it locally. It gets quite into it with fees. So like Visa and MasterCard, for example, will charge different fees depending where you are in the world. But it also means if you're based in the UK and you charge a payment, you get charged one fee. But if you're based in the UK and you make a payment in the UAE, it's a completely different fee. So you can start to minimise the fees for the merchant by kind of jigging it around a little bit, I suppose.
Okay. Now, you started out in Manchester, correct?
Correct, yeah, Stockport.
In Stockport, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come on to that later. When we met the other day, it was really random, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
I was sat next to you in the pub, never met you before. I'd only spoke to you over the phone. Got chatting away, and
it was Danny, wasn't it?
yeah, I was like, "Oh, you're Danny, right? Oh, yeah, I just spoke to someone the other day. They said you just joined them." I was like, "Hang on, are you Alex?" He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm Danny."
Yeah, no, it's some crazy world.
Funny, wasn't it? Funny, but so you started out in Stockport.
Yeah.
How long ago?
Let me swear then.
No.
Jesus, this was what? I'm 33. So, well, it was when I was obviously born there, so talking 33 years ago.
No, sorry. When did the business start?
Oh, the business.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, business is in Manchester. Sorry, so apologies. Business is based in Manchester.
Yeah.
Like I say, 5.5 years ago is when we formed the company, but that was solely to just service ourselves.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at it from the day we got our first employee, and that was 3 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah, 3 years ago, and I think we've got about 62, 63 now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's growing quite quickly.
Wow. That's a lot of mouths to feed. And I suppose with your business as well, COVID wasn't really that impacted by it?
No. Fortunately for us, it probably had the opposite effect. Obviously, yeah, a lot of things moved online. A lot of companies, should I say, moved online. I think some of the features we had on our platform already built in really was actually quite beneficial for a lot of merchants, and they've seen that, especially kind of in the recurring space, because we had just little functions like you could click of a button, give people payment breaks because it helps retain clients.
Yeah.
And that was a massive feature for a lot of the people that we have on our books in relation to subscription-based payments.
Okay.
Because it helps them retain the client. So obviously, when they went into lockdown, you don't really want to be, you don't want to be feeing the client if they can't use the service, such as a gym.
Yeah.
So instead of just that being cancelled, what it enabled them to do was just pause it as such and have that conversation with the client, because you pay with the customer, because you pay so much to acquire a customer. You don't just want to kind of throw that customer away because of anything really. You always want to try and retain them.
Yeah.
So what that enabled them to do was just basically, when they rang up, we understand COVID's taking an impact in the economy, and what we're going to do is give you a payment break for 3 months. And they could do that at a click of a button, and it meant that client stayed on, and they weren't telling the customer, "Oh, I'll call you back in 3 months to retake all your details," which was a great tool.
So you was able to amend your processing and stuff and allow that kind of feature?
Yeah, well, it was already built in, because from us being kind of, again,
looking into the future.
Customers and merchants, that was a feature we always wanted.
If you want to go travelling, for instance, and stuff like that, it's not just about global pandemics,
And it's like, it's also like sometimes when you're at home, you think, I don't really want that, but you do want it, but you don't want it that month.
Yeah.
So if you have the option when you call in and say, you can be told, we'll give you a month or two free just to make sure you don't feel like you get value out of this product. And if you don't after that, then let's cancel it.
Yeah.
It helps, like I say, retain that customer. It's all about customer retention.
Yeah.
Because
100%. I mean, whatever line of business you do, I work in construction and, I always say the same thing, repeat business is better than, going out and slogging for new business all the time. So taking care of the people that you have on board is obviously essential. But we've obviously covered a lot of the business without even getting to know you. So, I want to get the guests to know you. So, Alex Leigh, tell me a bit about you. Let's rewind 33 years.
Yep.
You were born in Stockport.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. How was life growing up? How's family, parents? You got brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got one brother, one sister, and then kind of two half brothers.
Where are you in that chain? Middle, oldest, youngest?
I'm the oldest before we get to the half brothers, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, no, life was good. I mean, obviously...
what did your parents do?
My mum kind of worked in a company called Philips.
Yeah.
She's kind of like, do you know that they make like TVs, microchips?
Electronics, yeah.
So she worked there, kind of just as a PA.
Okay.
So she's still there now, believe it or not.
Wow.
So it's a long time. I think she worked there for getting on 30 years.
Wow.
And my dad worked in SAP.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So he was traveling quite a lot as well when he was.
What was he doing for them?
Just a consultant. So kind of creating and delivering kind of the training manuals. Okay. So when a company was
signing up, he would train them,
he
show them how to use a platform.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, nice.
I actually tried doing that for a while.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And brothers, sisters, what do they do?
Yeah, so my brother, again, he's an accountant now. So he's still in Manchester. And my sister moved to work for Emirates. So she lived over here for 7 years. Okay. So yeah, and then obviously, unfortunately, because of the pandemic,
she lost her job.
She lost her job.
She went back to Manchester.
Yeah. In that time, I mean, hats off to her. In that time, she's trained as a teacher, got a job, and she's moving back in August.
Oh, nice.
So she's did that
it's I love this city, honestly, and I think it's I was chatting to my cousin yesterday, and I have zero plans to go back to the UK. If I was to leave here, it would be to go to a different country. But I just feel like even in this moment right now, and I don't know if you feel this, I mean, you've only been here a short time, but I just feel like it offers a lot for people, and look at the pandemic. Like I was chatting to my cousin yesterday, they've only just come out of lockdown. Things aren't really normal. They still got their head in their ass, really, the government and most European governments. So, but here, it's been normal for such a long time, and they just create such a good place for people to live. Yeah, okay, it's expensive, but if you can't really see this on the camera, but our backdrop is the Burj Khalifa, recording a podcast, looking over Dubai Mall, Burj Khalifa, the sun's shining. Life is good.
There's worse places to be, isn't there?
Exactly.
I mean, it is amazing. Like I say, I've been coming to visit my sister for thick end of 7 or 8 years, and the growth of the place is insane.
Yeah.
The aspirations of where they want to be is unreal.
And I think for a business owner like yourself, this is a great place to be because you're surrounded by people that want to grow. And it's like the guy that introduced us, a man that was on the podcast. I asked him the question, why Dubai? And he said, well, I'm doing quite well at the moment, but I am not a part of the elite and I want to be there. So I've come to surround myself with the people that are elite so I can kind of elevate. And I think that's just a good way to be. Always be humble, always look to grow. And this is a perfect place because, I mean, let's face it, how many Ferraris and Lamborghinis do you see every day?
Well, I mean, they're everywhere, aren't they? I think if you've got a Ferrari or Lamborghini, it's just an average car out there. It's crazy.
Rolexes are like a poor man's watch. You got to have like a Patek or an AP.
exactly. Or your Apple Watch.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I think like Dubai's got an amazing base for opportunity. It's very, very, very easy to network out here. I've got a lot of friends, very high net worth individuals who I look to for myself for advice, and they're out here. They were saying, I was with one of them yesterday, and it's just like the place is insane for networking. Like you can get to wherever you want to get to very, very easily.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like it is such a good platform. People what I found out here, which is not quite surprised, but fairly surprised about actually, was just how willing everyone is to help. Like there's no people just want to help you.
Yeah.
Which is it's a great environment to be in.
Yeah.
And it's such a change from other kind of environments that you may work in or try to work in.
In the UK, it's like you just head to head all the time. You don't really talk to your competition.
Exactly.
Whereas here it's, and I think that's down to the fact that a lot of people that live here, or 80% of the people that live here are, experts. Came here and they left their home. So everyone just wants to help each other.
Yeah, because everyone's been in that boat of being on their own, kind of not needing that help as well. So I think that really does transpire through to how much people help you, and it's a great attribute for Dubai. It really is. Yeah.
So back to like family life, school. What kind of kid were you at school?
Say mischievous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I was thinking by the way you went, I was like, yeah, he's a little shit.
Yeah, do you know what it was? I just didn't. I loved school, but more for socialising. Yeah. And I probably weren't an easy student. Definitely wasn't.
Yeah, you're 33, you say, yeah?
33, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 32 this year, and I think school's changed a lot now, but I think when we were at school, I feel like, you're put into that category of persons. Like, if they deem you as not thick, but let's face it, you had grades of classes, and if you weren't the brightest kid, you were surrounded by other not bright kids.
A bit backwards, really.
Yeah. When you think about it, like if I was a head teacher, I'd be like, well, no, the clever kids go with the guys that are not doing so well, so they can learn from them.
Yeah, exactly that.
But yeah, it's like I think when we went to school now, and I can't speak for now, but I think it was so one-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, things are forever changing, and people are forever learning. Great things like obviously internet, social media, it helps improve. Yeah. That kind of element of things. And yeah, school, I mean, I didn't do too bad. I got all my GCSEs. I think got 7 C's and 3 B's, something like that.
Did better than me, mate. Yeah. I got 1 C, that was it.
Did you?
Yeah.
But I mean, who asked for that now?
Yeah, no one.
When you go somewhere, who's like, where's your GCSE results? Like, I wouldn't even know where to go and get them from.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd ring the school, but
even
there.
I actually speak to my mum about getting my college certificates because I got a visa for Saudi and they wanted to see the certificates, and I thought, actually, I've never shown them since the day I left college. Yeah. But okay, so school. So you're a bit mischievous, but
I really enjoyed it though, because like I say, I had a great group of friends who literally to this day I'm still friends who speak pretty much daily with.
That's so weird because I mean, maybe it's just because of where I've come. I don't really know anyone from my school that ever kind of did things. Like I never really kept contact. I mean, I left my area of where I went to school as I was kind of finishing GCSE, so that was kind of like the end. So I'd never really kept in contact. But you still keep in contact with friends from
yeah. I'd say it's one of the best things to happen out of school was there's still a large group of us that all speak on a regular basis, all see each other on a regular basis.
And what do they do? Are they same sort of people as you?
All various different things. Electricians, plumbers, all different arrays of job roles. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, no, very.
Okay, so not everyone's like kind of entrepreneurial like yourself.
No, I think it's people are happy to everyone's happiness comes in different forms, and some people,
I think it's all about being content.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can be, you can own billions, and if you're not content, you're always unhappy, right?
100%.
And I think that's being content is the most important. But it's good when you're around people that kind of support what you're doing. But after school, so you've obviously got your GCSEs. Yep. What was the next steps for you? So
after school, I went to college. I didn't actually want to go to college. It was my Mum and dad had lined up to get me in because they were only trying to do the right thing. But yeah, so they went to college. I ended up taking.
What did you study?
Economics and business. So I was there for 4 years because I didn't do it in the 3. Didn't really. I mean, I think I don't even know what grades I got. But yeah, I did. It was again. It was. I looked at it too much as a social kind of
aspect.
I weren't.
How were you for homework and stuff like that?
Exactly. That
I was terrible, mate.
Really bad.
But I just didn't. The problem is, a part of me is I just didn't get it. I mean, it's funny because I was with a friend recently, and they're 21 years old, and like they were literally talking about things that I was just like, I feel so stupid around you because I don't even and it doesn't help that I've got terrible memory, but terrible memory plus not really doing well at school. But I like to think that I rather than come away with a lot of knowledge, I came away with a lot of common sense, which has led me to where I am today. But
and like you say, I think even in myself, I know what my weaknesses are. I try and obviously address them, but I'm not academically the best.
So what are your weaknesses then?
So my weaknesses, like you, my attention to detail definitely needs improving. People around me know that. That's why I literally have different elements within the company who will just then do the fine print as such.
So when you say finer details, like, I mean, for me, like when I'm reviewing a big document, like I get halfway through it and I'm like, I cannot do this, guys. Can you just scan through it and highlight what's important for me?
Exactly what I was about to use as an example. Like, give me a massive document full of a load of legal jargon. Last thing I want to be doing is reading it. Yeah. So again, it's putting the trust in the people around me and also solicitors firms, etc. Who will go through that.
But that's good because there was the Wolf of Wall Street said, he had a boss that kind of basically called him out early on and said, listen, you're acting like you walk around like you know everything, but he's like, when the most important thing is for you to remember is one day you'll realize that you don't know everything, but it's important to surround yourself with the people that do know everything, and that is key. Yeah,
100%. You like what we do, especially at Total Processing, is just try and get the best people in, because you get the best people in, like what they do for your company is amazing. They transform it. So that is so important to do that. Everyone's got different strengths and weaknesses. It's natural. And you can't always expect everyone to work in the manner that you work, or they're going to make some mistakes here and there. Like, you've just got to allow that and accept it, and and let them do what they're good at. Yeah. And then it shows in the company throughout, and then it helps everyone have a better environment too.
Where did you learn that though? Because what you just said there is such a good leadership kind of asset to have, and not many leaders have it. Funnily enough. Not many leaders have it because, if you do something wrong, it's like, bam, 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 just overwhelm you with this shit because they don't understand like that. Well, actually, not everyone's perfect. And you said it right there, like they're going to make their mistakes, but like, it's about kind of supporting them and just understanding that that's going to happen. But where did you learn that? Because it doesn't come naturally.
Yeah, I think it's a trait from maybe some of the job roles I had prior. Understanding that I didn't want to get hammered for certain things. Yeah. Probably also.
And I suppose it comes from a place of being hammered and going, do you know what? I didn't like that, and I don't want anyone else to feel that.
And also, it's like some of the people who are class as mentors, that they've always said that's a really key trait to have.
Do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Yeah.
Okay, and what do they?
I just go to them for advice in certain situations. I mean, listen, everyone has days where they doubt themselves. I have days, a lot of days when you doubt yourself. Yeah. And one of the greatest kind of what one of them said, called Johnny, was like, you've got to accept them. Like, you can't be beating yourself up when you have a down day. Just the first thing that needs to be in your head is, right, I'm having a bad day. Accept it. Think about it tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't beat yourself up about.
I think it's about being self-aware, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're self-aware, and I actually have an NLP coach as well, and it's only recently, and it's the funny old saying, isn't it? Like, if I knew what I knew now, like 10 years ago, like I'd be like just full of wisdom, and sitting there with, you know, a very comfortable life ahead of me. But you learn it now, I suppose. But yeah, I had an NLP coach, and I think self-awareness is like something that I've became knowledgeable of. Like I notice, like, so if I'm about to switch on a situation, I'm getting angry, I'm like, right, okay, take a breath, don't reply now, like little things like that.
Yeah, 100%. And it helps, because when you actually strip it back, what do you get from hammering a person who's made a mistake there and then? Like, you need to understand why they've done it. Like, why did you choose to do that choice, or whatever it may be that they've done? Just understand them. Why is that? How could I have helped you better? Could I have given you a better platform? And from that, you get a much better response from them. Yeah. Because for me, it's key that everyone within the company is like a family. Like, everyone wants to work for Total Process, and everyone wants to push the company forward. And if you can achieve that and continue to achieve that as you grow, I mean, you're going to do well.
What are the rituals that you have then? Because I listen to a lot of podcasts with Stephen Bartlett. Yeah. Obviously, he started Social Chain, and he was talking about rituals, and just like when people go and work there, like it's like they just have this ritual that this is the way it is here. So like what sort of rituals do you install in your team? So it's almost like, okay, we're a family, and when you bring new people in, how you can get them to buy into that?
Yeah, so like you say there, family is definitely up there. It's kind of like we push and innovation. We're always say open door policy for everyone, from the kind of CEO to myself. Do
you have offices?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got...
no, I mean like as in your own individual office, like a typical...
No. Not for myself. Yeah. No. I don't even have a desk. So at the moment...
modern day leaders, that's this key. It's like, I do a lot of office fit outs, and you know, when I walk into these meetings, and the CEO's like, I want this big office over there that's away from everyone, acoustically rated, so nobody can hear my conversations. I'm just thinking, you sound like a slave driver, not a leader.
Yeah, exactly. Like my form of leadership, and there's obviously so many different forms of it, and there's so many probably books about how you can style yourself. But for me, it's lead by example. It really is. We say it on when we have our calls with the board, and that's what we want to do. Like, all of us sit within the office environment, so they can hear us, they can see us getting in, they can see the amount of work we're doing, and that kind of reciprocates into them. Yeah. So it's a case of they see you doing it, they want to do it too. Like, how can you sit there and kind of do nothing and expect to get ultimate performance out your staff? Yeah. Like, it's impossible. Like, you'll get a few of them that will potentially be like little diamonds. Yeah. But the rest, you can't do that. You've got to, in my view anyway, lead by example.
Yeah.
Do that.
Have you had anyone that you've kind of like brought in and they've been a part of the business, and then they've moved on and started their own thing?
I don't think so.
How would you feel if
a
someone...
A lot of people have stayed. We've probably only had, from Total Processing, 2 people leave over the last 3 years.
How would you feel if somebody went off and was like, right, like, I want to thank you for everything, but, you know, I want to do my own business in the processing space? How would you feel about that?
I'd probably say to them, I mean, like I say, it's happened, yeah? So they've made that choice, and I don't want to restrain anyone. So the angle I'd take is I'd want to be more like, let's partner up. Like, how can I help you? I know how difficult it is to get to the ultimate aim, so they probably will need help from someone. Yeah. So I'd rather help them and become a partner with both. Again, we'll help each other grow than just kind of say, well, all right, well, I'm never going to work with you again, kind of thing. It's just stupid. But yeah, I'd partner up with them.
Amazing. That's it's just I think you're definitely on the way to being an amazing leader. But
fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But obviously, starting at a board, that was new to you. How did you come up with the decision making behind that?
For a board?
Yeah.
Well, I think as you grow, it naturally assembles.
Yeah. And is it people that was in the business or people that were outside that you just wanted to bring in?
No. So it was, obviously, there's 3 of us that co-founded the business. And again, like, I'm not. So getting back to the question you asked earlier about kind of what my weaknesses are, I'm not very good at all the detail in terms of, so if I'm running a team, I don't want to be sat in there doing loads of reports, and that is required. Like, you need to know where you are, you need to know where you're going. So for me, we weren't the three people that were the best people to run the firm, especially as we grew. So we're actually getting on a program called with KPMG called the Global Growth Program. So identify startup tech businesses, and they give their platform away for free, essentially, which is they'll do introductions, they'll help you, they'll advise you. They do workshops about how to enter different regions. Great program. It was a bit obviously different throughout COVID. And the person who was part of that, and he was also in mergers and acquisitions within KPMG. He just kind of rang me one day. He's like, "I want to join you," and it's just like, okay.
Wow.
Because he's just sat in the meetings and he just said, "I like your passion. I like your idea and your vision." I was like, I want to join you. Can we have a conversation around how that would look? And I just met him, and it kind of then rest is history. Then he joined us. And then from there...
Do you have typically when you buy into a board, well, it's not buy into a board, so typically when you join a board, you have to buy into the business, right? So is there with your board, did you say, okay, you need to contribute X amount to the business, or did you say, right, come on board?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not too sure about buying in. Maybe if it's... I'm not too sure about that. With ourselves, no, we didn't, because obviously not all board members are shareholders.
Okay.
So obviously, a board member can be just like your CEO,
like an employee.
And they don't have to have share ownership.
Yeah,
it could be like there's a reason behind it. What you're trying to do is get a balanced environment to make decisions. So you want someone in there to challenge them decisions that you might be making. Make sure you're making the right decision for the company.
Yeah.
From all aspects of it. So, like I say, the board is that arena to present ideas, this is what our roadmap's going to look like, this is what purchase we need to make of a significant size, maybe another company, for example.
Yeah.
And then everyone challenges that to make sure it's the right decision. So the stronger your board, the better the challenges, the better decisions you make. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the bigger you grow as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the last person joining us was Rob, who's now our CEO. Great guy, and again, learning a lot off him. But yeah, he's great at that. He'll challenge pretty much every single
thing you do
that's raised
yeah.
in the board meeting. Because like I say, it's not small like purchases or anything like that. It's when there's big decisions to be made. Do we expand into Australia or like the US, for example, North America? Them kind of decisions.
Yeah.
And that's that environment, that's that arena that then it takes place in. And then because then you come to the right decision, like it could take 2 months some of the decision to make, because as you start to progress down that line, things may pop up that you need to then take into consideration, especially when like buying companies. So we're going through our first acquisition at the moment.
What are you buying?
Just another firm outside of Europe.
Okay. Processing same space.
Yeah.
So you basically is the mindset behind that like market share?
Yeah. So we've got a kind of we want to buy companies with different market verticals that they operate in.
Yeah.
Just to get us a foothold within that industry without having to build a whole team out, and also sometimes for the majority for the tech as well.
Yeah.
So there's some tech in there we want. Yeah. So it's actually probably quicker to buy a profitable business that's doing pretty well, and just bring it into us. Then
are you not worried that you'd buy it over the kind of market value if it's doing well?
No, because that's all part of the negotiations. That's where it comes down to, and again comes down to arena within the board and making sure it's the right decision for us. So a lot of work goes into it. It's down to everything from like risk analysis, working out how long the clients have signed up for. Understanding who the key people are in that business. Yeah. Because all that contributes to it, and then you kind of come to a decision, and it's a pretty lengthy process, if I'm honest.
So you're doing quite well for yourself. What's the main driver to keep doing better? Because, you know, it's one thing where a lot of wealthy people, as you would put it, they kind of, some of them get to a point and they're like, wow, well, you know, I'm worth X amount. This is how much I've got. This is my business. Their businesses are thriving. How do you motivate yourself to keep pushing?
I think it's because I enjoy my day to day. I enjoy doing what I do, and I suppose that's the beauty of it. Like we just won a pretty big deal yesterday, and it's like
Can you say who's it with?
No, not yet. Because
when we say big, how big?
Like a global brand.
Okay.
Like you'll 100% know of them.
Yeah.
So just getting that with like
it's a buzz, yeah.
Yeah, it's a buzz, and like I say, just seeing the company grow out. It's like from how it was, and understanding that journey of the ups and downs. And
how long do those buzzes last for, though? Because this is something that I really and again, part of being self-aware is I'm not right now. I'm not in a content space. Not that I'm not unhappy. I'm super happy, and I'm happy. But every time I close a deal, and like I've had a fantastic year, and we're only 8 weeks in, and I keep wanting to push and push and push, but I'll get a buzz for about 30 seconds, and then my brain's like, okay, next.
Yep.
Next.
Yeah.
So how long do you kind of buzz and then you're on to the next thing?
I'm exactly the same. Like,
it's a horrible feeling sometimes. You're like, I should be celebrating, but I'm literally going on to the next thing already.
And do you know what? It's like yesterday I was actually thinking this. I was thinking I need to have a point where I'm happy with it, and I sort of sit back and go, right, well done, kind of thing. And I think that on a company basis, like I think I want to IPO it eventually.
Yeah.
I think next kind of 3 to 4 years.
That's exciting.
And then that's what I mean. So I've got an overall goal, but then I need to, like you say, you need to be able to enjoy the little wins. Like you can't keep. It's really important you kind of pat yourself on the back and not just go next, because then if you say you don't get a deal, for example, then you start beating yourself up when realistically you've had 100 prior. Like it is a skill, and it's something that I'm working on. So I've got no answer to that one right now. But like I say, one day I'll get there.
It's one, yeah. But will you? That's the.
I think it's also part of the nature.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say,
it's kind of why we in the position that we do, because we're hungry to keep going. Do you have imposter syndrome?
What's that?
Where you constantly doubt yourself?
I won't say constantly, but I do it a fair lot. Yeah, definitely. I do definitely doubt myself a lot.
Like that little voice in your brain that says, like, you know,
100%.
You could be doing better, or
yeah, no, 100%. I definitely doubt myself a lot, because it's like, say you go through a bit of a challenging time, or something's not going right your way. You'd be just thinking, should I have done something different? Could I have done something different? Yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely do. And like I say, it's about the one thing I'd wish that everyone took in is that is going to happen. Like I've never met someone and spoke to them properly, and they've said, no, I've never doubted myself, never once, never had one day. Yeah. Because it just doesn't happen. Everyone doubts himself at some point, even if it's not. It don't have to be about the overall. I'm not doubting where I'm going, but I might just have certain doubts about certain areas within the business, or some day. And some days I do think, am I going to get there? But again, are
you ever fearful of losing it all?
Not really, because like I say, I do it more because I enjoy it. Yeah, and I think I do come across a lot of opportunities now. Like I say, one of what I always try and do is network and connect people. Yeah, and I think as long as I don't do it with any expectations in return, and I do just think that if I continue to do that, I'm always helping out people out. And I think if it ever came that I needed kind of some sort of help, there'd be opportunities there that I can get into. I mean, I get offered a lot to get involved in different projects, but I'm also a key believer. I don't want to overburden myself. Yeah, like you can't
spread yourself so thin.
Yeah, you can't spread yourself so thin that you can't give it the attention it deserves. And that's kind of my response to it. Which is I'd love to, and I'll help you in any way possible. I connect you with any of my network that can assist this project, but I'm not there. And sometimes it's worked out pretty well for me in terms of people have come down the line a year later. Thanks for everything. Here's X, Y, or Z for the assistance and the platform you give me. Yeah. Because like I say, you can definitely, in my opinion anyway, you can definitely spread yourself too thin.
Yeah.
It's very important to just focus on what you're doing, understanding the time element, because it's hard. It's hard setting a business up. Especially nowadays, it's not where you used to fly to a meeting. You've got like Skype, Microsoft Teams. Like some days I'm just like looking at that screen thinking I can't wait for it to go off.
It's
just a consistent, like if you have a meeting.
I feel so bad sometimes on WhatsApp. I'm just like, I've set my phone up now, so 8:30, my phone does not give me any notifications because I'm always on the phone. Always.
I've turned WhatsApp notifications off.
Yeah.
Turn them off, so don't even pop up on the phone. I have to go into it.
Yeah.
Like you say, you've got so many platforms now. And this is a bit of not a problem, but it's also something to be mindful of. You've got Skype, you've got Teams, you've got Zoom, you've got Slack, you've got Monday.com, you've got WhatsApp, you've just got text messages, still a form. Do you know what I mean? You've got so many ways to be contacted on. Like, it's very difficult to turn off.
Yeah.
And again, that's an art form in learning to do that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can burn out pretty quick.
What rituals do you have for yourself? I've not even asked the question, to be honest, but do you kind of, when we met the other day, we were having a drink and then you went off, you're like, I got a meeting. Yeah. It was like 9 o'clock at night. Do you ever give yourself some space to just relax?
I try to, but I try to. It sometimes doesn't happen, especially, I just accept that sometimes there's going to be periods of time where it's really quite busy. Like while we're over here, we're 2.5 months in and we've done fantastic. Yeah. And I accept that this time is going to be full on. But then at the end, like the end of the tunnels, obviously when I go back to my fiance and we can have a bit of time alone, and obviously the baby's due on the 23rd of July. So, like I say, I accept it, but you do need to have some form of, like my routine back at home would be I'd get up, and I'm not saying everyone's got to get up early. I'd get up at about 6:30, maybe 6:15, 6:30. I used to drive into Manchester. I'd do my little Barry's boot camp to try and keep semi-fit. Yeah. And then I'd go for breakfast and I'd usually invite someone who would want to have a meeting with, or maybe just be friends. And I'd have that time just for myself. Then I'd kind of get showered, changed. Then I'm off with my work. Yeah. I try and avoid any calls after kind of like 9, 10 p.m. Really try and avoid that. That was actually, being honest, that was a bit of a challenge I faced when I come here, because I tried to keep my same routine. Then, because everyone in the States, all of a sudden them calls went to 1 a.m. Yeah. Then I'm getting back up at 6. It was just like very quickly. I had to stop doing that. Yeah. Because I could just feel myself getting tired as well. So now I keep over here. I keep mornings to myself. So I tend not to book anything in before 10 o'clock. So I can, if I want to go to the gym, if I want to go hit a few golf balls, I can do that. If I want to just go and have a coffee at breakfast, it gives me some time to myself. Yeah. Just to then like prepare myself. And I tend to write a little list as well of what I get achieved on that day. Because they're great when you get little mini ticks, when you tick off what you want to do in that day. Yeah. It kind of feels like you're making progress. So you can always remember that. Yeah. So talking about business then, so one thing that obviously that I've learned over time, and again, another thing that I wish I learned sooner was investing money. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously the more successful your business becomes, naturally then comes finances. So what did you do to make sure that you obviously work hard, right? So one thing I like to understand from other people is, how do you get money to work for you? It's a great question. And we talked about crypto as well. Yeah, exactly. But and that's what I mean. I think everyone, you pick a subject you like, I suppose, whether that be kind of property, whether it be certain companies, crypto, for example. Understand it and invest what you're kind of willing to lose. Like, don't put too much in there where if it was to go south, then you're in a bit of trouble. And do it over time. Like, it's something, again, that I'm only getting to the point of learning, because I always wanted it, like, come on, why is it not going up 10% today? Yeah. Like, and that's not just the reality of the situation. You will get stocks and you will get crypto, especially crypto, that fluctuates like that. But then you're also going to get the day, when you have stocks like that, you're also going to get the stocks that go down 10, 15% in a day. And I always say you only lose when you withdraw. Yeah. Well, that's the saying. Yeah, unless they go bust.
Yeah. But again, I mean, one of the biggest mistakes I think I made was when I withdrew my money from Bitcoin. I had it at $7,000, and I withdrew my money when it was at 17 because it went up to 25 and then dropped down, and ended up going back down to 7 for a while.
Yeah.
And now it's worth 50, 60,000. And but again, it's one of those lessons that you learn.
And that's, you still got profit. Profit's not a dirty word. So you made profit. So I'd focus on that and not the where it could have been.
Yeah. But lessons learned, isn't it?
Yeah. And like I say, I think it's about, for me, I didn't look at really spreading the investments. Like, property is great because you know it's kind of going to be there.
Have you got a lot of property back in the UK?
I'm starting to build. I started 2 years ago. I've got probably about 18 houses at the moment.
Yeah.
Some with friends, some on my own.
Does it not worry you that it's such a solid asset? Like, I mean, with the UK, like here, no regulations. Like, if you want to boot someone out, get out. But in okay, I'll remove that part. Like here, it's like you sign a 1 year contract. At the end of the 1 year contract, you can decide that you want them to go. Yep. In the UK, I've heard so many horror stories about tenants not paying, then you have to take them to court, then they have to get evicted. Next thing you know, 18 houses, you pay. If all your 18 tenants decide to go, okay, well, sack Alex, I'm just gonna not pay the mortgage and let them evict me. Well,
you have management companies, and you can sort of think about that kind of perception in anything you do.
Yeah.
So it's a case of just insulating yourself, understanding the best you can of that specific industry, and then obviously executing. So yeah, we have like management companies. Some of the properties we buy, when they're like 2 yesterday, for example, actually they're just going through at the moment, we guaranteed 9% a year from the developer for 5 years.
And do you buy in Manchester only, or?
So at the moment we've got just Manchester and Liverpool.
Okay.
So that's, it's just them at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I like I say, it's just something we started obviously 2 years ago. So that it's something we'll continue to grow and kind of have it as a retirement plan, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. When do you plan on retiring?
I don't know if it. Well,
I don't know if
you ask my fiance. Yeah, if you ask my fiance, she'll say I never will.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever will either. Like, I'll always have to be busy with something. I mean, the appeal of waking up and playing golf every morning is great, but then afterwards, I would have to do something.
Yeah, exactly that. I think I just couldn't. I couldn't sit there and do nothing. Like, it's when I go on holiday. Like, when we go on holiday, I can't just sit there and can't just lie in the sun. I just need to be doing something.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. Like I say, I really do enjoy it. So it's a case of I don't find it a chore. I'm not going to bed at night and thinking, like I went in bed last night and thinking, I've got to wake up today at X time. Like, it just doesn't cross my mind that I actually enjoy doing it. So yeah, I just don't think I will.
Yeah.
I just think I'll be doing some form of something, like whether it be advising, sitting on boards, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Helping other people start their businesses. I'd love to do things like that.
Yeah. So everything sounded great from the last hour of the podcast, but it's not always been this plain sailing. Nope. You didn't start up Total Processing and become a success overnight.
Started selling pies first.
Yep, started selling pies at Stockport County.
Yeah.
That's a story in itself. But let's talk about some of the business ideas where you got your fingers burned and the lessons you learned from that. We spoke about one on the phone and kind of off podcast. Yep. What's been kind of like the worst moments of your kind of business history of where you've gone, yeah, I really got stung there?
Yeah, so there's obviously been a couple, all great lessons in their own right. So the first one was when me and obviously one of the co-founders from Total Processing, Matt, me and Matt set up a PPI company. And it was actually perfect timing to set up a PPI company. We knew kind of what we did now. All we need to do, which was actually quite simple, would have been to set up a Google campaign and grow from that kind of element. But yeah, we set up a PPI company, and we got introduced to this woman who was essentially
a con artist.
Yeah, essentially a con artist, and sold us a dream, us with the money signs in our eyes. She's like, listen, how I operate is I've got all these people who I know have got PPI, so I can get all the details and then write them down, and then I can give you full delivered packs. And then obviously you just need to submit them, go through the process, and you get the money back. And all I want is paid per pack. Me and Matt, great. This is like, we've hit the gold mine here. Working off averages of whatever it was at the time, like £300, £400 a claim. We were just like, we're going to be millionaires. And so it went on for about 2.5 months, and we literally put every penny in that we had.
How much was that?
Oh, it wasn't a vast amount, but I reckon it was still, back then, fair whack. It was probably about 20 odd grand. Buying all these packs in.
But you could buy a house with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was just all the mates putting random card details down. We didn't get a single penny back. It was, and that was our own fault again for getting a bit too giddy, trusting her. But yeah, we essentially got nothing from that, and then she obviously disappeared.
Yeah.
When she probably ran out of mates and realised, right, the kind of 2-3 month period's coming up when they should start hearing back. And we did, and then obviously some of them were proper card numbers and were proper accounts, but they just never had PPI. It was just so yeah, that was a bit of a lesson in terms of you need to do your due diligence. You need to ensure that it's not all front loaded.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, I just won't work when it's 100% to them up front, because what happens if something in delivering goes kind of wrong, or it then gives them an incentive to supply you with anything then.
Yeah.
Just to complete the order. So yeah, that weren't great. But again, a good lesson.
What lessons would you say you actually learned from that, where you're like, okay, just literally being more due diligent? Yeah,
like I say, just I trust everyone on face value. I trust them till they break that trust, because I feel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because that's one thing that you could potentially pick up is where you tar everyone with the same brush.
Yeah, no, I'd never do that, because I think I've had a lot more benefits out of trusting people than I've had negatives. And I think if you weigh it up like that, it makes sense, because you can't walk into every meeting or everyone you meet thinking, and be really sceptical of the situation.
Yeah,
you've got to have a balanced view of it, obviously, but I think it's quite key that you don't just have an experience and then because of that one experience you're cynical of everyone. Yeah, because then you're going to hamper yourself, and should you hamper yourself because of that one person? That's just crazy,
ludicrous. Yeah,
it's like you just won't do it. Like, so yeah, definitely was the more due diligence. So just not getting them kind of little cash eyes that think, right, this is amazing. And if it sounds too good to be true, and usually you don't do your due diligence, you're the fool, not anyone else. So that was definitely it. And just an understanding for how a business actually worked in terms of just getting that. Everything's got to have a flow. You've got to have some sort of process flow in there. You can't just get a load of packs in and send them off. You've got to understand. You've got to have a process to ensure that the business is organised.
Yeah. Anything else, like in any major lessons? Yeah,
we've had a couple along the way. I mean, we got into personal injury, and again, that was a bit of a challenge to start off with. It was actually quite funny. We didn't know about couriers, so we had about 11 people. It was who agreed to take, who agreed they were going to claim, and we were like, right. At the time, I think it was 1,000. We were getting paid about £1,000 per case. So we're like, right, they're all based in like London and Milton Keynes. Let's drive down. So I borrowed my dad's car. Me and Matt drove down. Went to the first house. Yeah, I need time to read over all this. No worries, that's fine. Next house, and it was, and I remember a name as well. And it was 4, and it was a family of 4. So that was 4 out of the 11. It's like, yeah, I need to speak to my husband. Okay, no worries. Basically, all of them said the same thing. But then when we rang them back after a while, they said, yeah, just come back tomorrow. We'll sign everything. So like, right, well. And we didn't have much money at all at this point. And we're like, okay. So we're like, well, we're going to have to stay down in London. So yeah, stayed over. One good thing came out of it, actually, though. We went to the O2 Arena to get some food. Yeah. We were staying there. And it was actually a concert, Jay-Z and Kanye West.
Okay.
And we could hear something going on. And anyway, went to the ticket office. What is it? It's like Kanye West and Jay-Z. Now, with the O2 Arena, I don't know if you know, but there's no ticket outs. anything like that. So we basically begged and got 2 really, really good tickets right near the front. So that was good. So we actually get to see them.
Yeah.
Went back to the hotel, got up in the morning, right, let's get these packs signed. Let's get this kind of money in to help push us forward. Not a single one signed. So we just drove home and literally, we didn't say a word to each other the whole like 4 hours, whatever it was. So again, that was a learning curve because we could have actually just paid a courier £20 to go do it. Would have saved a lot of time.
Why didn't they sign though?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was not explained to him right. Maybe we could have done something a little bit better. But
and that business idea was just canned there and then?
No. We carried on. We used to share a desk in our friend's office. Guy called Josh and Ed, and they were doing IBAs at the time. And yeah, we used to share a desk and a phone, and we'd do one call each with the data.
Yeah.
It was really challenging for a long time, but then it ended up doing all right.
Yeah.
We ended up doing not too bad on that.
Okay.
But then obviously from there, I think that was kind of then when we started to look into more the online world.
Yeah.
And that's when obviously the process started behind kind of total processing.
Yeah. It's always good because, anyone that says that it became successful overnight is a very rare kind of situation. It doesn't happen to many people. And a lot of the time you have to build up like a lot of bad moments to kind of get to the good ones.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's a learning curve. It's a process. Like you say, you will get them anomalies who will literally strike gold straight away. And it's great, and it's great to see that they do so well. But realistically, it is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And yeah, it's a lot of learning along the way. You're going to have, like I say, your ups and downs. But it's about taking things away from them.
Yeah.
Experiences that are going to help you further down the line. And understanding criticism. Like, you've got to be able to take criticism and use it as constructive criticism, not take it to heart.
Yeah.
If you take it to heart, I mean, yeah, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So you've got obviously a fiance back in the UK.
Yeah.
Baby on the way.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, I'm not too happy. I'm not being able to get over there. Just to give maybe a little bit of background about it. What happened was in lockdown, we both made the decision that I would head up the expansion into the Middle East, not just obviously the UAE.
Yeah.
So we came over here, looked at houses, etc., got the villa sorted. Then we actually got into partnership with the private office of Sheikh Maktoum. So the day before I was going to sign, it was a lot of negotiations around that because they kind of approached us when they heard we were going out there, out to this region, should I say. And yeah, it was kind of right.
So they're your local partner?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sheikh Mohammed's office?
Yeah. So
the Sheikh of Dubai is your partner?
Yeah. So literally the day before I was due to sign, she's gone back home because we've been out here for maybe 2.5 weeks. And I was on the phone to her like, are you sure? Like, because if I do this, there's obviously we've got to meet certain targets. We agreed them prior. Because obviously you're using a lot of resource and a major name, obviously within the region, which will help us open a lot of doors. So we then agreed, I won't go into the deal too much, but we agreed terms to it all. And so if we didn't hit them, it's basically like penalties as such. So I had a phone call. Yep, let's do it. Okay, great. Next day, sign the agreement. Heads of terms were all done. Let's move forward with that process, and we were then meant to be moving out a few months later. That night, she rang me to say, I actually FaceTimed me about 1 a.m. and all I got was a pregnancy stick with pregnant on it. It's just like, right, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm over the moon, obviously. But yeah, it's provided challenges because we're not married, you can't like, at the time, I think it's changed now, but you couldn't live together and her be pregnant when you're not married. I do believe it has changed that rule now.
It has. You can live together. I don't know how the pregnancy thing works, but
yeah, exactly.
But your partner's Sheikh Mohammed, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So she essentially, the idea was we'd go back and forth. So obviously I've gone back on on Valentine's Day. Yeah, I think showed up on Valentine's Day. Quite romantic, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, went back on Valentine's Day and then flew out. And the idea was me and her were going to go back and forth. But then obviously the UK opened this hotel quarantine for 10 days. So that's kind of stopped that. So I'm literally not seeing now for, 2 months?
Yeah.
So it has been pretty hard, that, because I mean, she's so supportive, like she really is. But it is like I'm kind of missing out and not being supporting. Yeah, not supporting her as well. But she don't think like that, and she's and everything's fine. But it's kind of my own personal feelings. But yeah, like I say, it's not too much longer now. Then we can obviously she can have the baby. we'll probably stay there for a few months because we want to be surrounded by family. It's our first child.
Yeah.
So I ain't got a clue what to do. I'll probably just, when she cries, give it to Hannah. Yeah. I think that's going to be my, what I'm going to do to start off with. But no, we want to be around family, and then we'll probably aim to, like I say, come back in about October, because we've got a great core team over here, more than capable. The guys have been, and girls have been excellent. Since they've started, they've come on leaps and bounds, and I'm so impressed by them. So I'm more than confident they'll continue to build the team, hire the right people, and push us into the other regions like Saudi, Kuwait, Qatar, etc.
So, what's next for the business? What aspirations do you have? Do you have short-term goals, long-term goals?
Yeah. So the short-term goals are, obviously, out here we want to get what's called like bin sponsorship. So essentially we are then our own kind of mini bank, should I say?
Yeah.
So that should take us, we're on the process of that. That should take us about 5 to 7 months. In the UK, like I say, we're just applying for our FCA license to, again, essentially we'll be then the acquirer. We want to grow into Saudi and Saudi, Bahrain, Kuwait. I think they're going to be the 3 areas we're growing to first in the region. And then look at obviously like Egypt and other various countries.
Yeah.
We obviously want to grow the team out in the UAE and have it for like our hub for the Middle East.
Yeah.
So I think that I think that's going to take us probably till the end of the year, maybe Q1 of 2022. But that's the short term of where we want to be.
Long term?
Long term, just continue global expansion. We want to obviously become a true global firm. So that means developing partnerships within all the Asia, Australasia, kind of North America, South America. And then, like I say, I think when we get to that point, see where we are on the road, like in the journey. And I think that might be the time then, if the timing's right, is to maybe look at like floating.
Amazing. So, as a final point, I always like to ask this to everyone. What is your recipe to success?
Recipe to success is such a tough one because there's so many answers for so many different people, isn't there?
But what's your definition?
For me personally, it's truly my networking is definitely there. Like, I think if you ask a lot of the people that are close to me, that is my massive strength. Like, I'm quite comfortable in a room full of people I don't know, and I'll go and speak to them, and I'll get productive conversations and work out what synergies are between the companies. But I also know not to do the pitch there. I'll also work out who the person is and what arena is best to do that in. I think it's so key to network because they are essentially the people who can help you and give you that platform to rise further forward.
Yeah.
A lot of the times they're the decision makers. They're the people that you need to say yes to kind of working with you.
Yeah.
So networking is definitely up there. Creating a team and an environment that everyone's kind of like-minded. Everyone really wants to push forward. Everyone shares the same vision, and that they want to see the company do well.
Yeah.
That's again, if you can do that, it's great. Get the best people on board is so critical as well. Like, you do want the best people. If it means kind of saying you're not the if it means it's you losing a title just to get someone in, just lose the title. Like, that you need the best people in because you're not going to know everything. by any stretch of the imagination. And the best thing you can do for yourself is get them in and learn off them, sit with them, learn off them all the time. I'd say is that, and just understanding the people. Like, you've got to be able to understand the people you're working with and you're dealing with. Not everyone's the same. Some people would love to go. Their perfect meeting would be going for a coffee in the morning. Some people's would love to go for a meal at night and have a few drinks. Like, everyone's different, and it's a case of understanding who they are. And then when it's getting to your actual team, again, like we make a big effort to speak to everyone pretty much every day. We'll have like company calls where we'll all be on it. Everyone just asks questions. We have somewhere we don't even talk about work, especially over COVID, just to keep everyone, like, make sure everyone's cool. Yeah. And like I say, you've got to treat your staff with the utmost respect. Like, they're the people that are going to be the difference between making a great company, making an average company. And I think if you do that, it gives you the best possible chance to succeed.
Yeah. Well, Alex, thank you so much for taking the morning out to have a chat with me. I really enjoyed that, and I hope your first podcast was a good experience. Wishing you all the best for, obviously, the baby and the business. And yeah, I'm glad you're a part of my network now, that's for sure.
No, appreciate it, Danny. Thank you very much.